We will now have Carol-Ann Burke. May I pronounce it that way? Carol-Ann Burke from the University of Toronto, and she will share with us the report conducted about exploring the equity dimensions of an out-of-school computer science program for women and gender non-conforming youth. So, Carol-Ann, please take on the mic.
Well, I want to thank you for inviting me to be with you today. This is an amazing space, and I'm thankful to have a moment just to talk about the work that we've been doing together. So I'll give you a little bit of background as to where the study came from. So during the 2021-2022 academic year, I conducted a study in collaboration with the Ontario Science Centre, looking at promoting equity in STEM education. We were particularly interested in the GTA, in the Greater Toronto Area, and we wanted to identify educators who had expertise in this. Well, if we're promoting equity, we wanted to look for educators who had expertise with working with youth who have been marginalized or historically excluded from STEM careers. So we started a consultation based on 20 educational leaders in the GTA who we were told have a very strong reputation. We checked the reputation online and checked with other people. They were all through recommendation, and those 20 educational leaders provided us with a prolonged kind of consultation experience to try and identify, in this region specifically, what practices, what principles do you adopt to try and promote greater equity? VOLUTION was invited, so we thank you. And from that study, we were able to identify some key principles and some important program elements that were consensus between those leaders. We were only interested in those leaders who had been doing this work for a long time, but we wanted local wisdom. We didn't want to keep following whatever the US was saying or whatever they were saying in Europe. We wanted local responses. What does this mean for us to be equitable in the GTA? So from that study, 2 organizations were selected to look at what does this look like in everyday life. So you've told me the principles that you think are really important and the program elements that you think we should incorporate, but what does this look like in everyday life? So VOLUTION was one of the organizations that was selected to try and look at how these practices play out so that we can have something to help those who haven't started on their equity journey. So we focused on the Stemming Up program. And given that VOLUTION is more focused on the computer science areas of STEM, my research assistant, Dr. Ananya Mukherjee, and myself looked at exploring computer science areas of STEM. Now, there's a framework created by some researchers in the US, Fletcher and Warner, called the CAPE framework. And I'll just talk to you very quickly about what that framework does, but it's specifically designed for looking at computer science equity, but particularly in a school or formal schooling system. Well, we're looking at an informal system. So we want to know how would that play out in an informal education system. So the CAPE framework is based on capacity for computer science. So your ability to offer appropriate computer science courses with qualified teachers and appropriate funding. So that's the C. The A of the CAPE framework is about access. Learners being able to attend the courses. Geographically, socioeconomically, can they attend? Can they get there? Participation. Are the learners going to be interested in enrolling? They want to be doing computer science. What's making them want to enroll? And then experience. Do the learners gain an educational experience and qualifications that are of value? So based on that framework, we devised this study, and Donna, I think, is going to circulate the report. You see So our study, as we said, is one of the few examples of looking at this in an informal setting. And there are many organizations that start up clubs and afterwards they think, oh, I should probably be more equitable. Well, we're giving them some examples ahead of time. The study was based on 4 data sources. So we looked at organizational documents, particularly the website and materials that were being advertised to the public. We surveyed past participants. We interviewed past participants, and then we interviewed the CEO. And we wanted to know, what is your organization doing that will help us to describe some of these equitable measures? So just to give you a snapshot of the results, but I'm giving a spoiler alert, I'm not going to give too much away, but a snapshot of the results, you'll have to read the full report. Just things that organizations can learn from. So thinking about capacity, it's really important that we have professional and academic mentors inducting attendees into the educational pathway, but also into career pathways. This is something that is often missing from an educational component, from the formal education system. In terms of access, the provision of high-spec laptops and providing transit passes addressed some of those access issues. In terms of participation, the program contained a whole range of opportunities to engage in a broad range of what computer science is, not just academically, but what it looks like when you're doing that kind of career. And then finally, the experiences had real-world applications and promoted progression. It wasn't just you did a program and then you did the program, that was it. You actually saw ways that you could progress through this process of engaging with computer science academically and career-wise. We also identified some elements of caution that we would maybe share with other organizations wanting to start this process. Thinking about, how do we reach the desired demographic? So there's a group of people who we know have been underrepresented. How do we reach them? Do we need to go to schools? Do we need to specifically approach community groups? What do we do? We also thought about what would be appropriate incentives. What incentivizes people effectively? I suppose the puzzle is to stipend or not to stipend. That's a very common puzzle in informal education at the moment. And think about, what does that mean? What are we incentivizing people with and why? And are there some natural incentives that could have longer lasting impact, such as having a really high value laptop that you can use for multiple things? That's a really great incentive. Consider a model that has strong community-based connections. How will you bring learners from their community, but also how will you go into learners' communities and learn from them? So that's another puzzle. And then finally, thinking about the age of the learners in the organisation. At the moment, the Ontario curriculum has introduced certain elements of computer science into the elementary curriculum. So we've got a little bit of a gap of people who haven't yet experienced it and won't, because they're a little bit too old, they're not in the elementary system, so the 13 to 15-year-olds will not have met this advantage. So how do we address their needs whilst thinking about how to nurture those learners who are going to come up through the process in the next few years? So I'll leave it there. For more details, read the report. And finally, our next steps really are to try and share some of these insights more broadly in hopefully a research article, should I be able to find some time. This is more a passion project that we engaged in. It wasn't officially funded, it was, I suppose, self-funded, but it was a passion project for us to just see where this leads, and we got some really great insights. So we thank you, VOLUTION, for trusting us with yourselves and coming on this journey.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you so much, Carol. Yes, we really appreciate that you did this with us because all the insights, hopefully other organizations get to learn from us. Not that we really are the best, we're learning every single year to make things better, but we're really glad that we're able to do this with you. So we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you.